But
Yeah.
you wear out eventually, don't you? That's what it is.
I mean, it'll sort itself out once you did.
That's a very nice way of looking at it.
The ringing stops.
The ringing finally subsides.
Then you have a quiet life, or non-life.
We're rolling. Okay. Look, the Dandan Flow explores human stories, and I think this is useful because it helps us understand other people's stories, and that helps us see our own stories in a sort of a new light, and helps us understand life. I want to welcome Dave, JJ. Welcome to the Dandan Flow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So specifically, I think today we'll be talking about business that you guys have. That's very exciting, Yeyo. But I don't want to start there. I think we'll definitely end up there because I find it very interesting. And a father and son combination is always interesting in business. How did you end up in South Africa?
Yeah, good question, really. So, some 25 years ago, I was in England, and this young doctor had to pay a bursary back or come to the UK for a year and then pay a bursary off that way. And my stepmother was having some sort of woman's operation, and I went to visit her, and she turned out to be her doctor. And then I said to my stepmother, "Who's the blondie?"
Who's the blondie?
I just met a South African girl on the stairs, and she said, "Well, that's my doctor." I said, "Put a good word in, you know." And then things moved on from there. Obviously, she thought I was beautiful, and chase me.
So things have changed over time.
As time goes on, yeah. So yeah, it's a lovely story. And then we were together in UK for 14 odd years, 15 years, and then we sold a business. And I said, "What do you want to do? What would you like to do?" And she said, "I want to go home." She's from Pretoria. So I said, "We can do that. I'm never going to live in South Africa, but I'll live in Cape Town, because it's such a different world down here. It's beautiful. It's best move I've ever made, and I've lived in and worked in 7, 8 different countries now. And Cape Town's phenomenal.
And so before you started the current business, because I know you've been involved in several different other things, and you're just saying live in 8 different countries. What kind of work took you?
So just being entrepreneurial, really. I think going back in time, many, many years, I was involved in business, looking after high net worth clients, flying around Europe, just basically go for lunch, go for dinner, keeping the clients on boards for the banks, pressing the flesh, as they say, and keeping everyone happy. But then as compliance and legalities changed in the finance world, I knew that it's probably never going to stay in it. So I took all the money I earned and invested in a company in Eastern Germany that was making something that I thought was revolutionary at the time, which was a tracking system for vehicles. We're talking 20 years ago. Everyone has them now, but then this was the early adoption process. So I sunk every single stupidly penny I had into it, and it didn't work.
Oh dear.
Yes. So this is before my son was born. Okay. I ended up going to Langewiesen in Germany for 3 months. And my background's mathematics in a way, I suppose. And I sat there with all these engineers, and I suddenly worked out that I could write a code called ASCII, which is very, very early Python. It's very early code. It's just binary.
Yeah.
And I found out that I not so much write it, but I could understand what they'd written and where the mistakes had come. And over a period of 3 months, we managed to turn a product that just didn't work into a product that was very, very good. And then I brought that product back to the UK. And then after 14 years, we are in 38 different countries selling tracking systems from an early start. But as normal, entrepreneurial, up at 6 in the morning, get home at midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, to get up at 6 in the morning to go back out. And that's how you do it. And that's how you build the business. And that's the one we sold. And now we're here.
So the idea was to retire, actually.
I don't think anyone ever retires, really. Once you've retired and you've been retired for a while, you suddenly realize how expensive retirement is. If you think that if you work a 40, 50, 60-hour week, while you're doing that business, you're getting paid. And now for 40, 50, 60 hours a week, you're not getting paid, but you're still doing stuff, but you're spending money. And so it's a complete reversal process. The money just goes out and never comes back in. And coming back into business is not so much a case that you want to stop that reversal. I just love it. Just love the crack. Getting to meet people like yourself, Danie, and getting to speak to people and talk about products and just come out with something that's completely off the wall and make it work.
Yeah. I mean, life can get a little bit boring if you suddenly go from being very busy to not being busy at all. It kills a lot of people.
It can. You have to find things to do. And I'm coming up for 70 now, but it's not that I want to find things to do. I can play golf 3 days a week and I can still put in 2-3 hours a day.
Is that roughly where you're at?
He says.
Maybe a bit more. But no, it's nice. It's nice now. I've always built stuff to sell on. And when this opportunity came forward, I didn't quite have that same concept in mind when I started it. And I knew at some stage JJ he's been off, when he was 18, 19, he took a year out like the guys do, they go. And then we saw him 2.5 years later. So it's just a slight extension on time. But I always knew that somewhere, and he worked his way around the world. So, somewhere this would all come back and have some sort of meaning. And he came back 7-8 months ago.
Yeah, almost a year ago.
And I convinced you to get into the business with me. And now JJ runs the business. I'm his support. And this is the nice thing. I know he has that entrepreneurial spirit that I've always had. In actual fact, I found when I was 15, 16, because I had to. And he's taken on. He's just a natural at it. And it's wonderful. And let's see where we go. This is not my journey now, but it is my journey, if you can understand it. It's his journey, but I'm watching, not to see what he does right or wrong.
It's kind of special to be in a position where you can actually be a mentor to your son in the business.
Yeah, it's lovely.
That's fun.
It's fantastic.
So your 2.5 years, where did you disappear to?
Well, I left here in.
Can I just say this is going to be interesting because I'm not completely sure.
I'm not going to reveal all on a podcast. That's for private discussions. But left here in May 2022. So I finished my schooling in November 2021, and then left here the next May. Ended up in Italy for a while. Then I was working in Gibraltar behind a bar. I was just thrown into a high pressure, high intensity nightclub environment, which I really enjoyed it and I really thrived in. And a bit more traveling. And the nice thing about bartending is it's such a travel friendly profession. Like you can get a job anywhere. And if you're confident enough, you're fine. And then was back and forth between traveling and staying here and ended up in a cocktail bar in London for 2 years, which was lots of fun. London's a great city to be in when you're young, albeit it is very expensive. And then I came back here for a little bit of a sabbatical after that in March last year. And Dad had just started Yeyo and it was going pretty well. But then Dad said to me, listen, son, I'm 69 now. I'm too old for this shit. I'd like you to come come and take this on and give it a go. And I'd always been like advising from afar with like social media and what do we do? What do we say? Like, what's the kind of narrative here? So I thought, yeah, this is a really good opportunity to kind of get my teeth into something that's working for myself effectively. That's something you lose when you're working in a bar environment or being employed. I didn't enjoy being employed. I'm not one of those people. So the opportunity was there, and then it was a no-brainer.
Nice. So we've alluded to it a couple of times. The company Yeyo, you started it originally. I think, did we speak? Was it a year or 2 years ago when I first met you?
Yeah, it's probably 15, 16 months ago now.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we met in Vasco's for a beer.
Yeah, and I recall you at the time were sort of speaking to different farmers and so on, looking for potential plots of land to grow the product.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this product?
So,
or a little bit of the history of it?
Let's just take a step back. So, the plant we use and make use of is an indigenous South African plant. It's called Sceletium tortuosum. It can grow in other parts of the world, but only in South Africa, when you grow the Sceletium, it has an alkaloid base. They've tried to do it in Japan, China, America, and it grows, but it has no alkaloid. It's just a plant, a dandelion, if you like. But here, for some reason, with the weather, the ground, the water, it grows a really nice alkaloid base of varying quantities depending where you grow it. So when I met you, we were on the point of realizing that it was taking us probably nearly 50 kilos of raw biomass to produce a kilo of Yeyo extract. That's
taking 1 out of 50.
It's a lot of biomass. And then doing the sums and looking at how we were growing and how other people were looking to come into the Sceletium centerfold, and then going and looking at the farmers, within 18 months, there would be no Sceletium left. Or we would be selling far more than we could actually physically grow. So it was an educational experience at that time, was to, oh shit, I've got to build a business. I need to earn money. But then when I've got this business built, it's not going to exist because I can't get the biomass to feed it. So I started a farmer collaboration. I spoke to the Black Farmers Federation and many other individual and collective farmers on a cooperative basis. And while we were going round speaking to these farmers, and they were growing small plots of Sceletium, a quarter of an acre, half an acre, whatever, I started, when I was testing them, to find out that the alkaloid base of a plant was ranging from maybe 0.65% to 1.2%. So if I could get the 1.2% plant, I'd only then do 25 kilos of biomass.
Instead of 50.
Ish. It's not exact science, but
sure.
As a given. And then when we started to look further and we found some of the very old forms of Sceletium up in the mountains, and we could replant those, we have a crop now which we're growing, which is 2%, and we have a crop underway for next harvest, which will come in about 2.8%. So we've now gone 50 kilos, 25 kilos, 15, 10. So we actually are 5 times better off in cost and 5 times better off in good farming and the way we manage those farms. And therefore, the higher the
Dave,
alkaloid base.
Can I just want to interject for a second, because I think all of this is interesting and I want to know all about it. But I'm just thinking, for people listening in, the question at this point must be, okay, great, so you've got more alkaloid. What do you do with this alkaloid? What is the point of it? Why grow it at all?
It's okay. So if we go back 10,000 years, just a short step back to
Hop, skip, and a jump.
just skip and a jump, we can go back that far and look at the Khoi Sand people, and there are recordings of these people chewing this plant, the Sceletium, raw out of the ground, and it's a very good thing for the gut. And it's also a dietary, complements dietary. And they used to chew it and then run through the field, hunting, shooting, fishing for 2 or 3 days to catch their meals and not have to worry.
So the Khoi Sun is what most people know as the Bushman. I don't know if that's politically correct at this point.
Yeah, people say you should say Khoi and Sun people, but...
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about people who could actually, like, run after an antelope, like an eland or something, and run it down.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is that part of the recipe here is chewing on these leaves that would give them these alkaloids.
Yes.
So what exactly is the physiological?
So it gives you an uptake of, it gives you a great energy boost. The energy boost when it comes in can be quite prolific to start with, depending on how much you chew, but it's also quite long lasting. It can be 3-4 hours. So it gives you that nice momentum then to follow through. But I think what they quickly realised is if they take the plant, smash it with a rock, and then let that dry, they get a powder or a resin type of thing. And they could then have a higher, that was just the pure alkaloids coming out. And if they smoked that, they could go to war because they couldn't feel the spears. It became up there with the gods type of thing. So over those years, I hadn't come across anyone that had taken this beautiful plant and really looked at it in depth as to what it can do for people. Really, there was a company called Zembrin back in the early 2000s who did a case study using rats and things and mice, and they touched upon all these points of the energy spectrum, people suffering from ADHD, stress, that type of thing, to be able to calm people down, but using very, very small amounts of it. So,
and it's perfectly legal, right?
It's 100% legal. It's classed as a food. It's classed as a dietary supplement everywhere we go. So we've worked with border control in numerous countries around the world now and have HS codes for many countries. It's just a dietary supplement. But what we then did was as we increased the alkaloid in the plant itself, so we could reduce the biomass we use and do a much better good farming practice, we were then able to produce a much stronger outcome in a powder as an extract. So normally on the market, people are using an extract of between 1% and 2%. We're now extracting at plus 18%. So we're 1 to 18 times stronger than anything else on the market. It's so strong, in actual fact, it's not really fit for human consumption.
So you want to dilute it a little bit. So.
Yes. So we then work that pure extract back using a glucose or a mannitol. So it's then, we can judge the alkaloid presence for different moods. So for someone who's quite chronic ADHD, we can have a stronger alkaloid. Someone who just wants a stress buster, it'll be a weaker alkaloid. And we build that into the profile and build that into our products. So
that's pretty cool.
I like it because I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist. I'm a numbers person. But you can make, even the alkaloids, you can make work by numbers. And that's what I find very, very interesting.
So I actually had someone on, Big Joe, or Johannes Brannas, or he goes by a couple of names, Entrepreneurial, but he did, I think he made the world's first non-alcoholic gin.
Oh, wow.
And part of the reasoning there was that he was in Amsterdam and sort of realized that the young people weren't really drinking that much alcohol. People were looking for alternatives. And I've read in a couple of places that some of the big alcohol manufacturing companies they're looking for all kinds of options because they can see the numbers changing. That there's a generation of, and maybe it's because of social media and people don't want, like everyone's got a video camera with them. If you get shit-faced somewhere, like there's a video and for all of eternity, everyone's it's going to be there and kids just go, no.
Many layers to it. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that because I've been working in a bar for the last 2 years, so I saw that big time, especially as I was in London, and teetotalism is really a European thing. It hasn't really touched South Africa that heavily yet, but I could see the amount of people coming into a cocktail bar and ordering mocktails or ordering a non-alcoholic beer or having just a soda was pretty shocking. And it's the way people are going. There's a massive hustle culture going on to do with social media and, you know, being up at 6 a.m, going to gym. You're a loser if you drink alcohol now, which I don't believe in. I love a drink as much as the next person. But what we found with Yeyo is it's a fantastic alternative to alcohol because, you know, lots of people who don't drink still want to lose that social anxiety, still want to loosen up, but don't want to get
a little bit of a buzz,
get a little bit of a
something.
Buzz. But they don't want to get messed up, and they definitely don't want to be on camera. So what we found is lots of people keep a canister of our Yeyo powder on their key rings, and if they're out, they're having a soda or they're having a lime and soda or a Steelworks or whatever, they will put a spoonful of Yeyo into that drink, and that will be your slow release of good vibes, bit of energy, bit of freedom. And the same as what alcohol gives you. It's just that it's a cognitive buzz instead of something where if you have too much of it, you're going to lose your judgment and your demeanor. That's not going to happen with.
So what happens
with the Yeyo?
What does happen if you do take too much?
Too much Yeyo.
Yeah. You pick up a little bit of anxiety, I imagine.
You can become a little bit anxious if you take too much. That's the broad feedback we get from people who, you know, put half a gram down their throat. We're like, no, don't do that. But you can also just be sick. It's the same as if you have too much chocolate or too much alcohol, you just throw up. Those are the only known side effects.
Yeah.
From having too much.
Well, look, I mean, there's always going to be someone out there, and I'm sure like someone will be able to figure out how to kill themselves on anything. Like, you could probably dig your eyes out with a spoon if you, and then call the spoon dangerous. Yeah. So you brought some of the product with you. You were explaining a little canister. Do you maybe just want to show us there?
Yeah, of course. So canisters look like this.
And that's 1 gram.
That's 1 gram. And inside is your spoon and your white powder. And
it's a little telescopic spoon.
So it extends so you can get to the bottom when you need to get more. And the white powder
looks just
comes
like
in.
Drugs.
There is a bit of nostalgia associated with it. That's what we wanted to do. And that's about 1 dose right there. And then you can either pop that in the drink, under your tongue, or if you want to, it's something that you can sniff. When you sniff
again,
it,
just for the sake of nostalgia.
For the sake of nostalgia, we don't necessarily market it as a sniff, but if you know, you know. And it's really the nice thing about when you do sniff the product is it's a rise up to that euphoric feeling. And then you stay on that mellow buzz kind of level for a couple of hours. And
for that long?
For that long. It's about a 5-minute head rush, and then you're all on a very nice mellow level. and then you come off very gently, very slowly on the other side, which means that there's obviously no come down, but then also there's no craving for another hit or another bump or another, rush back up to the top, which is why we have a huge part of our customer base are people who used to frequent the hard stuff, cocaine, ecstasy, ketamine, and it would mess their lives up, as is well documented. But the nice thing about this is there's no come down or craving, so you're never going to be waking up in the morning feeling like you're on a come down from a 3-day bender.
And I think that the craving is there's probably a reason why it's not classified as a drug, right? Or why it's not getting the kind of scrutiny that a lot of other things might, because once you've had it, it's like, okay, that's fun, and maybe I'll do it again some other time.
Yeah.
And it's not just chasing the dragon, so to speak.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, as the founder or the origination of what I wanted to achieve, and once we knew how the alkaloid process with the mesembrine and mesobrine works in the brain, and the serotonin effect that it brings on, is that could we actually replicate cocaine? I don't think anyone can, unless it's cocaine, of course. But at the same time, it was a bit of fun in the laboratory when they said, well, how strong do you want it? And I said, no, that's not the question. Well, what's the question? First thing is colour. If it's brown, no one's going to touch it because they think it's heroin. So I need it white, or as white as it can be. Slightly off-white vanilla. We got there. It took a long time. Second thing, taste. If you put it under your tongue or in a drink, or you intranasal through the nose, you don't want to burn in the back of the throat. So it has to be pleasant and understanding and nice. And we extract mannitol from tree bark. It's more natural. It's a alcohol sugar. As we know, the alcohol then disappears. It's got a slight minty background to it. So it goes down very nicely. And then the third thing is the strength. That's the last thing you come to. Because I can play with the strength, but I need to get the colour right. I need to get the taste right. And it does, in a way, represent cocaine. And it was my intention. Because when my wife's a doctor, and when we sat there and went through all this and went through all the tests that have been done over the last 20 years, then we spoke to professors at Stellenbosch University, UCT, all specialists in this biomass field. And they said, yeah, it cannot be addictive. This stuff isn't actually addictive. So can we use it with people with addictive nature to wean them off other things? Substances they're addicted to. And part of that program was to do that, and we are going down that road, but it's very long and it's very expensive. So in the meantime, we have to
you have to do all the medical testing and the
exactly.
Yeah,
it takes
correct.
years and years. That is our goal, and to work at some stage with children on this in a much lower form of alkaloid. But so we need to sell. I said to my wife at the time, I love this. This is where we want to go. And it's a long journey. But in the meantime, I need to sell a truckload of this to fund that, because that's what it's got to be. And this is where a lot of the funding goes back into. And we're now set down that road. And not surprisingly, we've got a lot of people on our books now come back to us every month. They buy another gram, because you get 20 to 30 days use out of 1 gram. And it's just taken that edge off that they need or are looking for, which is part of the addiction, that dopamine effect or whatever it is. Everyone's got something different.
But so someone could use that at the end of a work day, just to get a little bit of a buzz on, just to have a little bit of an adjustment, or they could do it at the beginning of the day because they feel like they could do with just that little bit of a on your way to the gym, and I just need that. I need that extra 5% willpower to actually get going.
Just to
get
get out
there.
of my car.
I put it in 20 mils of water, and it dissolves in 5 seconds, and it takes about 45 minutes to get something out of it because it goes through the system.
If you're digesting it,
yeah.
Slow release.
And your serotonin button's in the lower gut. So it has to get there before it presses that button. It takes about 45 minutes, but once it's a very strange thing, Sceletium. It's an adaptogen. Once it's in there and working, and if you want to work out, it works with you and it pushes you. It's fantastic. If you want to go to sleep, it goes to sleep with you in the same breath. So it adapts to you and your environment.
I've heard you use this term adaptogen before.
Yeah,
I love the idea.
I know, but it's
like X-Men or something, right? Just like that. What do you...
just without the long nails.
It's just a wonderful plant. It's beautiful the way it works.
I think also the fun thing is definitely its versatility. As much as that's fun, it also does bring on the kind of assumption like, oh yeah, this is too good to be true. Like, you guys are talking absolute shit.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And also on that point, that makes like, because we obviously have to go into a lot of shops and pitch our product and, you know, have you heard of Sceletium, la la la. And it's an interesting sell because it does everything and people don't believe you. And then thing about me is I'm quite an intense person when I'm passionate about something, so they can see that I'm really passionate about something. And when I'm really passionate about something, I start speaking faster and faster and faster. So then
they start to associate your behavior with the product. I think he's taken a bit too much of it.
They're exactly like, mate, how much of this shit have you had today? I'm like, no, it's fine. I haven't had any at all. It's just a coffee. But in the same breath, it also, we're working with some really cool or we have done work in some really cool spaces. We activations with Tropical Disco last December, who are a big festival organization. We did Conscious Cocktails up a retreat south, which is swapping out the alcohol for Sceletium. And it's always an interesting conversation, going back to what you were saying about working with addicts and doing good in that sense. It's always an interesting conversation when you come up kind of against big corporate companies or people who have a reputation.
That should always be interesting.
To maintain.
Yeah.
Because for example, we activated it at Tropical Disco last year, and that event was also sponsored by the city of Cape Town. And the city of Cape Town turned around to Tropical Disco and said, we don't want Yeyo anywhere near this because we don't like what they're doing. We don't like what the product looks like. Also sponsoring that event was a tequila brand. So you're kind of just like, the amount of damage that alcohol has done to society, and I'm not bashing alcohol. I love a Paloma, I love a beer, but it's getting people to look past the fact that it's powder in a canister with a spoon. And we're edgy, we embrace that, but it's so much more than that as well.
Well said, sir. It is. The canister now is a one canister fits all, because you can find your own level of what you want to take.
Yeah. But you were saying earlier that there's sort of an idea and I'm guessing this is down the line, to have, would you be able to pick from 3 different assortments or 5 or whatever? Let's say something that is there for the recovering alcoholic, one that is there for the ADHD, one that is there for the casual Thursday afternoon, but I still have to drive home.
Yeah, that's exactly true. So as we grow and as our market grows, we will cover more of those angles
and the pillars as well.
Yeah. So JJ designed the five pillars. 5 pillars of life that we like to look at and work in, and we will actually end up with 5 different products as we go forward. So there's new products.
What are your five pillars?
Smile, focus, relax, party, workout. And because we basically find that the powder especially fits into all of those realms of life in its own way. And then if we, as you say, extract different alkaloids from the plant, we can make something that's specifically for relaxing or for focusing or for just having a better day.
Yeah. Have you played around with sort of cocktails, combining it with whatever, caffeine, taurine,
We have.
sleeping tablets with
Not quite sleeping tablets. So the way I do a lot of the lab testing, which is fantastic. So I take most of the products before it even arrives at our table. So in the
chief
last,
testing officer.
based on the test dummy.
Essentially.
Test dummy. So we like to produce it in a liquid form because it's more immediate for us to play with, and we can adjust those batchings literally in front of us. So we've just produced some batches, which is a Sceletium base in a water-based Sceletium, and then we mix with it a taurine. A taurine itself is a mood lifter. It helps. It also puts stability into the solution as well. And it's also nice is because Sceletium's an adaptogen, it will adapt the taurine to give you a beta boost. Whereas taurine, as we know, is in Red Bull. Caffeine is in Red Bull.
Yeah.
And it's the original, I suppose, energy drink. It's not the original energy drink, but it's the one everybody relates to.
Yeah.
And when it originally came out, it was a 100 milliliter shot.
Sort of almost syrupy.
Yeah.
Thailand.
And it was banned immediately in Germany. It was just sending people to LA. But then people went across the border to buy it to bring it back. And then that moved on to a 250 or 200 ml tin and so on. And now history is it's one of the biggest brands in the world. Sceletium could replace everything there is in a Red Bull tin without the sugar, the taurine, or the caffeine. That's the scary thing. Completely natural.
So, I mean, I find energy drinks interesting. We already spoke about Big Joe. One of the things, sort of, obviously, he's played with lots of products, but in this non-alcoholic space, that there is like one of the growing product categories is THC. So essentially, like the active ingredient marijuana, but then you have that in a can. And it can be a very, very low quantity. And it's that same thing, like here's something that's actually natural and it gives you a little bit of a buzz and it's not alcohol and it's somewhat social and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Also something that gets a bad rap in public as well.
But with THC, of course, there are many places in the world where it's illegal. What you're saying is Sceletium doesn't have that problem, but it has the active properties to actually challenge
that.
Yeah.
One thing we're working on very much so, and it might be a bit of a boring section for your listeners to listen to, but it's called standardization. There's no standardization of Sceletium alkaloid at this moment. So if you go and buy Panadol, you get exactly the same capsule every time because it's a standard.
This is a paracetamol. This is this. And
it's a standard.
Standards.
So when you're dealing with plants that range from 0.6 to 3% alkaloid base as a start, and then you extract from there, and whoever does the extraction in the different way they extract, CO2, ethanol, methanol, whatever it is, you end up with extraction. So there's a very famous drink on the market at the moment here that is a Sceletium-based drink. We won't mention who it is, but it has 268 milligrams of Sceletium in it, which sounds very, very big, but that's actually equivalent to 9 milligrams of ours. So if we
it isn't standardized properly.
It's not standardized properly. It will come and it will take time. But if we now produce a drink with 9 milligrams of Sceletium in it, people would go, I'll take the 268, but it would be the same. If we put 268 in our drink, well,
of yours, then
you'll be on the floor.
We wouldn't be able to have this conversation. What we would.
When things might get uncomfortable.
Different conversation, yeah.
So that's another thing that will be coming through, and that's a big thing. And that's THC is the same. You don't actually know how much THC you're taking, because there's so many different variations of plants and each gives a different alkaloid strength base, and who's doing the job, who's producing it. There's no standardization. It will happen. It has to happen.
Yeah, and you can make some serious mistakes with THC gummies, especially with the edibles. If you we have stories.
We got given some samples about 6 months ago, and they were really cute small gummies, but they're like these tiny things. There's a 50 milligram sativa gummy, and I don't smoke a lot of weed. I don't really enjoy THC at all. But I was like, let me just try this thing. Like, it's a small little black gummy, can't be that bad. An hour later, I get this like massive vibration through my hands and through my body, and we're about to have dinner, and then Dad's like, "Yeah, supper's ready," and I'm just in a fetal position on the sofa, just like
until the next day. Completely.
For about 4 hours.
Yeah, I went to bed.
And then I wake up and have the leftover food, which was really welcome, obviously. But that's something that I enjoy about what Sceletium does. It will never get you to that stage, especially with what we're doing with Yeyo. Like, we tell people not to have more than 3 spoons of this a day. And that's not because it's too much, but purely because you're not going to go any higher or any further by having more and more and more. You reach your level and that's it. And that's the nice thing about it being controlled and manageable, and it doesn't like all of a sudden hit you.
Yeah. It's just
which is nice.
The powder form you're talking about, liquid form in the laboratory where you'd mix it with other things and sort of try out and see what it does and so on. We're just talking about gummies. Do you guys do gummies?
We have launched our gummies. So they look like this. And they are our
intimacy
gummies. So there are 2 gummies in the pack, one for you and one for someone special. And it really takes the principle of Sceletium, just clarifying your mind and kind of breaking down those social barriers and just making you very present in the moment. Because when we launched our powder, one of the feedbacks we were getting is that when the effects wear off, you become slightly horny. And we looked into that, and it wasn't actually the like overt aphrodisiac nature making you horny. It was more the fact that people are just so free and so within themselves that they just look at their partner and go, you know, naughty little grin, off we go. And so we thought, fuck it, let's just put it into a gummy and roll with it. And we had some really good feedback. We piloted them at Retreat Yourself last February, where, you know, you got lots of couples staying in tents, making lots of noise, and lots of people bought our gummies and came back the next day and said they are really fucking good.
Best sex they've had in 7 years.
Yeah,
one guy
and stuff like that. And these are people who, just never heard of us before, tried our gummies, and there you go.
But it's a very social thing as well. What we didn't want to do was like the blue pill, the man takes it and then he's got to have sex.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. It's for you and your partner. Take them together, and you're both in that space. And the intimacy then just happens naturally. That's the beautiful thing about it.
Love is one of the 5 pillars, right?
That's our 6th pillar.
Oh, it's the 6th pillar.
Sixth pillar.
Yeah.
So we caught up for a quick beer last week. Thanks for that, by the way.
Thank you.
And we were sort of talking about what it would take for you to scale up, like what the current demand is and what the supply is and so on. And today you told me that you've actually in the past week, your sales have gone up tremendously, and now you're in supply challenges.
Yeah, we sold out. We sold out this week completely.
Sold out of canisters.
Yeah, so it's not just the powder. We love to do the marketing completely different to everyone else. We don't want to be the same.
Just another.
Just another. That's why I designed this canister with the telescopic spoon. It's different. We now have them come in all different colours, and it works. It's a nice thing, and it's gimmicky. It's fun, but it helps. Oh, sorry, helps helps to sell. And I quite like it. Actually, I like the taste. It's a little bit earthy, but it's lovely. So, we've had a problem, obviously, because China's had New Year, and now we've got a certain Mr. Trump creating a bit of havoc in the world, or certain other people creating havoc. I don't know what the story is. I don't do politics and religion, so...
Yeah, but you have to deal with whatever the outcomes are.
You have to deal with the fallout, don't we? So, getting our products done, bottled right in the laboratory and out, it's become a bit of a challenge. We get past it.
It's a great problem to have, though.
It's a nice problem to have. Suddenly you'd be selling so much Yeyo that it's, and I have to say, in front of the camera here, it's down to this, man. It's quite funny because the first probably 8-10 months, Dad was doing it at 69 years old, creating a powder.
Come on, kids, you want some of my drugs?
On the street corner.
Pretty much.
Doesn't go down well, and my sense and thought of, people doing drugs 60 years ago, I knew what everyone was doing. I've been through there. We've all been through it. But I didn't understand the under 30-year-olds of today. Enter my son, looked at the social media and said, "Sorry, Dad.
This is a fuck up.
This is a fact. You can't actually say that." What do you mean I can't say it? He said, no, you can't say that, and you should say this, and fuck me, you do it. So he started taking it over, and we went from literally 60 to 70 followers to 73,000 followers in 10 months. And so he gets it, they get it, and the sales now come in. And it's just a whole different way of looking at things. And it was a funny narrative, really, because I produced this as a sniff, in theory, for the European market. But of course, when we started to sell it, I thought, well, rather than doing the expense of going over there, let's just launch it in South Africa. Yeah.
Cape Town's a great petri dish for all kinds of things.
It is, and lots of people coming and going, and I'm out, not on street corners with kiddies quite, but trying to get people to take it. So what is it? Well, it's a sniff. We don't do that. Oh. And it was difficult. And
Come on, snort it. Snort it.
So it's it, yeah. And then he came in and said, "No, Dad, just tell him to put it in a drink." So, "You put it in a drink?" "Oh, do you?" "I'll try that then." "Okay. But you can sniff it." "Oh, good." "But I'm buying it because you can put it in a drink or put it under your tongue." I go into Europe and they say, "Well, so what do you do with it?" I said, "Well, you put it in a drink or under your tongue." And they go, "What the fuck? Just sniff it."
Different attitude.
It's a whole different attitude.
I think I was speaking to my mum about this, and she said that South Africans, obviously there's a massive drinking culture, and South Africans tend to stick to what they know. They don't tend to try lots of different things, whereas in the culture in Europe, it's very much, okay, let's just try everything once. So see how we get on, and then you try it twice and 3 times and 4 times, and then the lines become blurred. So launching a sniff in this country was always going to be difficult. So I think that narrative shift was very important. But it's also the education process around what it is. And what we found is that we started off by telling them what Sceletium is and what it does and all the benefits and all the history. And at the end of the day, people don't really care about that. They want you to tell them what they're going to feel. And at the end of the day, they are buying a feeling and they are buying an end result. So that's when we changed. I want
to know this is the price.
This is the price.
It's legal.
How many bucks do I get?
And this is how you're going to feel.
Yeah.
I can use it for whatever.
X, Y,
use
Z.
it for intimacy, or use it for going to gym,
Partying,
or
use it for workout, that sort of thing. So that was a big narrative shift. All the way to the point where I actually took Sceletium out of our narrative entirely. I just said, this is what Yeyo does. Because as Sceletium is a fairly widely unknown herb and plant and substance, if you will. The more you talk about Sceletium, the more they ask, what is Sceletium in terms of, instead of what can it do for me? And they miss the benefits entirely. But we then basically, on our page, we now have our FAQs on the top left, where you can go and click on, you can find out everything you need to know about the product. But apart from that, we are selling a feeling, and we are selling an end result. And our strapline is just feel better, which completely sums up all the different properties we have.
I mean, different strokes for different folks, I suppose, but like, I find it incredibly interesting to know the origin story of Sceletium, and I would like to know, exactly what is the physiological effects in the brain, which areas are affected, which are not, what is it in terms of the nervous system, and I think there are lots of people who would like to know, but that's not necessarily the quickest moving market, right?
Correct.
But I quite enjoy the idea that this is something ancient that's been in South Africa, that's been used in South Africa for, and you were saying, I'm skipping it back 10,000 years, but
we know of.
But it could be 50,000, or it could be 100,000 years.
Yeah, we don't know.
And it's been here, and it's part of the story and the history, and sort of bring it back to life. Has anyone else actually, or let's say Sceletium, the way that that it is available at the moment, instead of having to go through the traditional process, how long has that been around, and people have been dabbling with the idea?
I think we can go back, as far as I know, having now met a huge amount of people in this market arena. We can go back probably 10 to 12 years where people were taking the Sceletium plant, drying it, and they were doing almost just a soaking process of letting it soak.
This is 10 to 12 years ago. So
yeah, and then producing that in a tea as an effect. Obviously not very strong, very weak, but it still was to a certain degree a stress reliever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so the way that it's actually being compounded now or created is extremely new.
I don't think we were the first to take it to the laboratory as we have, but we are the first to take it to the laboratory and extract the shit out of it in the way that we have done and beyond.
Optimize that process.
Yeah. So I know quite a few people in this industry. So if we just move on to mushrooms, I know quite well a company and an extraction process.
It's like psilocybin, you mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Their extraction costs 12,000 euros a gram. 250,000 rand for a gram. And that is used purely in the medicinal market. But they go to the nth degree on extraction. They're up in the echelons of 95 to 96% purity. But then the medical companies, the pharma companies can work with that. There is a chance that we can go to that, but at the moment, we don't need to. Because we're 10 to 18 times stronger than anything else out there. So, working the way we are working now with the farms and everything else, we've managed to.
And you can see sort of scaling process going into the future.
Yeah, because we're buying up front. We're buying the harvest almost up front, which helps the farmers. Which allows them to plant forward on the harvest. So we're working with these people. And they know they have an offtake at the end. It's us. We're putting in, we're taking back. Putting in, we're taking back.
And growing all the way. You were saying, you specifically said, like, if you're in Europe and the attitude there is quite different. So you guys, Yeyo's currently in a couple of places in the world, I'm guessing then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we're selling into the Netherlands. We sold into the States. We are.
Today is Latvia.
Well, today we sent product to Latvia. Product arrived in the UK yesterday, and
Gibraltar's quite big.
Gibraltar's doing very well.
Your old connections.
yeah.
Yeah. So in Gibraltar's actually my cousin, and he has his own restaurant and bar there, but he sells into Spain from there and to his mates and to the Gibraltarians. And we've sent product to Australia, New Zealand.
That's a current market share. Let's say South Africa represents.
Probably at least 95%
Yeah.
of what we do at this moment in time.
Is based here.
So the strange thing was to launch here in South Africa, get it wrong, don't worry about it, then go to Europe. But then suddenly we have a whole South African market now. Our market over the next 12 months will be 3 to 5 million rand. So it's that's what we've built it to already. And then Europe, well, we will go to Europe next week because suddenly we have a business. So it allows us then to look back and do what we want to do, work with the people, the addictive space, and the place where I truly believe Sceletium should be used. It can be a fun thing, and I think it's a great thing, but there are so many people, and I didn't realise this out there, that are still on Ritalin at 30, 40 years old, ADHD, and why are they taking this stuff, you know? Everyone wants to look for an alternative. And many people through walks of life are trying it. We now have another alternative on the table. It might be the optimum alternative, but only time will tell.
Yeah.
And
I think you can't say it's obviously not medical advice, but if someone has the issue, then maybe try it out and see for yourself if it does the trick. And if it does the trick, then you say, well, here's
well, we've
something
also
more clean and natural. That
we also just get the most amazing feedback. Like there are women coming to us and saying, this is really helping me with my menopause and going through that phase in life. And we were like, we never built this product for women who are going through their menopause, but if it helps you, fantastic. I've got a very good friend in the UK who gets his ADHD meds from the NHS, and the NHS is a shambles at the moment, so he doesn't always get that medication on time. So he started using Yeyo instead. He stopped ordering his medication from the NHS because it's such a good alternative and it works without the side effects, works very efficiently, and that's what he uses now. So
let me get a few funny stories. So we had a guy up in Joburg. I'm going to say his name's Arthur for argument's sake, and he bought a gram office. This is about 10 months ago, and then he phoned me up about 3 days after it arrived, and he said, "Oh, can I ask someone some questions?" So who's this? He said, "Oh yeah, it's Arthur from Joburg." So, "Oh, how are you doing?" And he said, "I bought it because I heard that it was good for libido." And I said, "Well, we understand it is. I've tried it myself. I think actually I'm playing with it. It is very good." And I said, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 78. And I said, "And how's it working for you?" He said, "Can I have 5 more grams, please?" I said, "Why 5 grams?" He said, "No, I don't want to run out." He said, and all these little anecdotes and stories that we come through now, used to come through on a monthly basis. Now it's a weekly. Now it's almost a daily basis. We get so much feedback, Danie. It's brilliant. And is it why we did it? No, but it just makes life nicer. If that makes life better for people, and then that feedback is, it's worth $1 million, isn't it?
always.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
There's those small little increments that make all the difference.
And some very funny stories. Very funny.
So I think it's actually quite special to have sort of a father-son business running together, especially something like this that's new. You're not making shoes together. It's something that's exploring a new space and it's trying to challenge some of the conventions and so on. So I'm actually very happy for the both of you. I think it's great.
Danie, thank you. And it's also, the nice thing is, if you look at the product and stick it in the table now, it can represent cocaine. It's that sort of area. I'm working in a drug business with my son, technically, and we're
It's
opposite.
a gangster.
A gangster. I mean, I play golf. I play golf 2-3 times a week, and if I ever meet anyone on the golf course, I say, "What do you do then, Dave?" "I'm a drug dealer." And they go, "Oh, right, okay." And then about 2 holes on, they go, "What type of drugs?"
Do you have any for me?
So
Try
the conversation gets to, "Have you got any? Could I try some?" But the thing is, if you go back 30, 40 years, this probably would never happen, even if the product was around, because it'd be socially unacceptable.
And now you actually have the vehicle because of social media and so on. You can start to
It is.
debunk myths around
And
it.
it cuts
and
across
educate
all
it.
borders, all bridges, all age groups. It's amazing.
Excellent. Where can people find you? And we'll obviously drop a link in the description.
Yep, there'll be a link there. You can find us online. We are on Take a Lot as well, and we are in about 25 to 30 smoke shops and cafes across Cape Town, as well as a couple of shops in the Overberg and in St. Francis and in Joburg as well.
Fun
Yeah.
times. JJ,
Always fun times.
David, thank you very much. Really appreciate this.
No,
Had a ball.
Thank
I've
you, Danie.
enjoyed it, Danie. Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.